year, uh, just because that I was not expecting it.
Mhm.
And as far as this year, I've done a lot of interviews, as far as, when it comes to being, as far as art in this industry.
Yeah.
And, I'm really thankful for a lot of the opportunities I've been given just in this 1 year of me actually trying to progress into this industry,
Mhm.
which it's, from what I've heard, it's kind of unseen and unheard of
Yeah.
for it to happen within 1 year. But,
Mhm.
I'm kind of happy, I'm pleased with the way things are going.
Excellent, excellent. So you should be. It's to be, as I say, artwork in the SDCC comic book. That's like the biggest comic con in the world.
Exactly.
It's what everyone knows. So yeah, that's
It's
pretty
kind of hard to,
impressive.
yeah, it's kind of hard to choose because, I was also given my first convention, which was Heroes and Villains. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I applied and I talked to, I had a really good contact with a really good, back and forth conversation and contact with the lady that coordinates,
Mhm.
for the artist booths and the vendors.
Yeah.
And, she was, like, oh, you have a lot of Constantine art. It'd be nice to have someone there because there wasn't really a whole lot of Constantine artwork there, even though
Right.
Matt Ryan was there.
Mhm.
I So it was, it was a really good opportunity, and that was also, probably my second biggest accomplishment out of the
Mhm.
year
Cool.
was the fact that I was able to actually secure a booth at, at least an event like this.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised and overwhelmed with how many people were already acquainted with my art,
Mhm.
how many places that they've seen it, and they've seen it in places I didn't even know
Yeah.
were out there. And I was overall really impressed with, like I said, like the Hellblazer fandom it's such a unique fandom.
Mhm.
I was really impressed, not necessarily overwhelmed, but by how many people wanted to meet me, how many
Yeah.
people sought out to meet me
Mhm. That's
there,
pretty cool.
because I had never really done a convention by myself.
Yeah.
I was always attending, and I was always helping with press,
Mhm.
trying to network as much as I can.
Yeah.
But like I said, that fandom always impresses me, and as a person that loved the comic and has also been a part of that fandom for years, I was really, in a sense, overjoyed of how open they were.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. That's really good to hear. Like I said, they kind of boosted me. And helped me, in the beginning as well. They're such a welcome family. The Hellblazers fandom. It's very very much a close knit family. It's great. Excellent. So, what kind of things do you do to recharge your creative batteries?
To be honest, I'll go to the movies. I just stop everything I'm doing. I go to the
Mhm.
movies, and maybe just, eat a bowl of cereal, watch a documentary, try to get some ideas, try to get some
Yeah.
influences. I do a lot of reading.
Mhm.
So
Cool.
that's pretty much it. I try to mellow out as much as I can.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard when you're constantly going, but there's days when, as you know, when you talk to me like the other day, I'm like, no, I just don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing is that's the first time I have not done anything in weeks
Mhm.
since I would say probably around Thanksgiving.
Right.
So I was constantly going and going,
Mhm.
and I made the joke to a friend of mine. I was like, "Oh yeah, it's Thanksgiving for y'all, but it's just turkey on a Thursday for me because I'm busy working." Because I was trying to get some artwork out to a G Fan, which is the Godzilla fan magazine,
Okay. Yeah.
and it's actually distributed in Canada, some of it in the US.
Mhm.
So I already agreed to do some art for them. So I was trying to get it finished at that time period and trying to get it turned in. So, I was busy during that time period.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh yeah. It's a rest day for some, not everyone. Cool. I mean, we've all met very talented newcomers also who are trying to get their first professional projects. What's the best advice you've ever heard given to a promising new creator like yourself?
There's a few things I've heard. I've heard Jim Lee say to draw every day. And, I'm not disagreeing with him, nor am I agreeing. I think you
Mhm.
do need to draw every day. But um, ultimately, my advice besides drawing every day, like he said, is you got to step out in faith.
Mhm.
You've got to step out. If you don't step out, you know, nothing can happen. You could draw every day, you can get better every day, but if you don't try, what's the point? There's if you don't try. And also, you got to be open to learning. You got to be open to learning that there are some things you have to change.
Mhm.
Maybe in your style, maybe not necessarily your style, but maybe, you need to maybe draw hands better, or maybe you need to draw
Yeah.
something else better. Be open to, any advice or any criticism that you have, because there's some bad criticism. I've been lucky to not have, such a negative criticism,
Mhm.
that I've heard,
Yeah.
because I've heard of a lot, of artists giving really bad criticism, or like really harsh criticism.
Mhm.
But, I'll always be honest. But basically, you just gotta put yourself out there. You don't put yourself out there, nothing can happen.
Yep. Fair enough. I think that's the best thing is, if you don't put yourself out there and put your head above the parapet, you're not going to achieve anything.
Exactly.
So take that step and be daring.
Yeah, don't, I think it was Todd McFarlane that best said, and the difference between an entrepreneur is and I think it was like an entrepreneur and a worker or a co-worker or an employee, is that the employee looks down and worries, am I going to be safe? Is there anything going to be there to catch me? But if you're an entrepreneur, you don't ask questions, you just jump.
Yeah.
And you take a head start. If someone tells you you need to get ahead, you just kind of just go. You take 10 steps back and you just keep going. You don't question what's going to catch you. You don't question, you don't worry things. So
that's pretty good thing coming from Tom McFarlane as well, because I do remember him back in, '94 is when I first got into Spawn. So yeah, and he took a hell of a leap because he moved out from comics and he opened an entire toy line, which was totally against what everyone was saying, and look where that's taken him. So
yeah, exactly. It's still going. I mean, I think they produce and manufacture most of the Walking Dead toys. So
yeah, they do. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's financially sorted for the rest of his life.
Yes, I mean, he still has Spawn, and he still does. He still has Spawn, but it's still an ongoing comic.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I do keep hearing the rumor about another Spawn movie as well, which will be pretty cool.
Yeah, that is coming from him, especially like since if it's coming from him, I really do believe it, and especially with the way visual effects have come.
Oh god,
effects, how far we've come compared to the first movie.
Yeah, it'd be pretty amazing.
I know he said something similar to that, so I might be completely misquoting him. But I do know it was something similar. But yeah, you just got to go. You just got to jump.
Exactly. exactly. And last question I've got for you is a bit time to get a bit philosophical. Is what's the most important big idea that you've learnt in life, in or out of comics, and why is it so important?
Pretty much like I said, you got to step out in faith. You just got to step out in faith. Not everything is. And, not everything's necessarily based on how much you draw a day or how much you do a day. You have to try. If you have the willingness to try, you can achieve anything. And I really, truly do believe that. I've come pretty far in my life, as far as my previous background before I got into this industry, involving my personal life and my family life. If you just don't try, you can't do anything. You can't be afraid.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems, especially with people that are attending art school or people that want to get into this industry, but they're just so afraid to try. Honestly, you have to go in there knowing that you are going to get rejected 100 times. Because it has happened. For instance, I can get rejected 40 times. And then one person will come back to me and offer me a job.
Yeah.
So you just have to be willing and to know that, not everyone's going to like what you do. And also, you might just not be what they're looking for, because there are so many different artists and there's so many different types of comic book art now. It's amazing, it's very overwhelming. But, if you get into this industry, like I always tell people, you don't get in it because you want to be a millionaire. Don't get in it for the money, because honestly, comics haven't made that kind of money since
Yeah.
the 90s.
Mhm.
So don't get into it, don't get into it for money. Don't get into it because, you want to be involved with writing a movie script. A lot of people have achieved that. That's great for them. But
Mhm.
if you're an artist, don't get into it because of that. Get into it because you enjoy it. Get into it because you respect the art form. Because those men, and I say men because it is an industry that is started by men,
Mhm.
and it's not necessarily dominated by men. It's kind of almost getting to an equal balance. We're almost getting there.
Yeah.
To me, that's never been a big deal to me. It doesn't bother me. But those men worked incredibly hard
Mhm.
just for us to have that book. And that book, people may say, oh, it's a funny book or whatever. To me, that's not just a book. That's a piece of literature. That's a
Mhm.
piece of literature that's potentially helping another child learn how to read.
Yeah.
That is a piece of literature that is teaching you morals and values, what is right, what's wrong.
Mhm.
So, don't get into it because of that. Get into it out of, respect for the art form, because you enjoy it. And other than that, that's really it, just be open, don't make any assumptions, because you'll be surprised.
Thanks very much, Ash. That was brilliant. Really nice to hear the insights of a comic book artist and how you started out, and also what makes you go throughout the day. Thank you everyone for listening. This has been Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz, wishing you a happy new year.